A brief summary of Library of Ruina so you can play Olympus Company Part 1.
Greetings, dear guests. Alright, I know what the title of the video says, but I am no longer asking go play Library of Ruina. It's one of the best games I've ever played. It's not some billion-hour grind fest full of microtransactions
Olympus Ruina,
and
bro.
player spite, and while the community says the difficulty curve is vertical, it's not unfairly so if you spend some time figuring out some decent decks. The story is also paced well, with compelling characters and solid twists. Please, go play this game. If you can't, either due to being unable to do so, just don't enjoy the genre, have already beaten the game, or just want to play Limbus, then this video is for you. Obviously, these videos will spoil Library, but specifically I'm going to be really focusing on the plot of the game and very lightly on the gameplay. So if you finish these videos and decide you want to go play it, there'll still be new stuff for you
this
to
is
see.
just what was
Additionally,
recommended, so I'm just
consider
watching
this
what's
a bit of a
recommended.
content warning. This game goes to some dark places. I'll also be trying to be funny here, so be prepared for that.
Genuinely
Also,
appreciate
again, this pretty much covers all of the spoilery information from Lobotomy Corporation and the spin-off comic Wonder Lab. Go watch my other videos if you would like to know what went on in there, as I'm only going to very lightly recap them. I'm also going to put this disclaimer in the actual video this time, so I don't have to pin it as a comment. This video is made without the context provided by extraneous materials and sequels. This means no information from Distortion, Detective, Leviathan, Limbus Company, or whatever sequels have come out since.
Like, where's the jump ahead, dude? He gave us a whole intro, and we knew we were going to be watching a lore video, so let's get to the prologue. Yeah, I don't like to glaze those, so the fact is, all I wanted to add, Wonder Lab isn't canon anymore. Bro, if you just want to glaze your glorious game director and game dev, bro, then glaze him, bro.
Wait, I think that's the wrong opening. The abyss of time has swallowed me, or at least I wish it would. I have not been afforded the mercy of forgetfulness, for I am painfully aware of exactly how long I have dwelt in this void. 2,483 years, 182 days, 16 hours, 57 minutes, and 4 seconds. Or, from a human perspective, a little under 3 months. Yet, in all that time, I have yet to find the one thing that has been hidden from me. Perhaps that man included this as an additional, cruel punishment, but I will not give in. I will find that damn sequel! I've read this series up to Tangos with Terrassus like 10 times now, yet no matter how hard I look in this I can't find that damn conclusion. Looks like we're gonna have to draft up some invitations. Oh God, she wasn't lying. That feels like I was sleeper smell.
So is he just giving like his rendition of it? Like he's not reading it word for word clearly, right? He's giving his like. Okay.
Oh well, guess that's another agony to add to the pile. Where the hell am I now? Is anyone around? Who the fuck are you and how'd you get into my book club? Oh God, I was just trying to get a sandwich and found myself here. Please stop. How much did you hear? I didn't hear anything. I just got here. Please. Oh wow, no more pain. And actually, wait, this feels nice. First time that's happened in a while. Yeah, sorry about the whole dismemberment thing. I've just been alone for so long that any kind of external simulation was kind of a shock. I gave you your limbs back as an apology and also cleaned up your internal organs a bit. Speaking of, who are you and how did you get here? Name's Roland, ma'am. I'm just your average grade 9 fixer and absolutely nothing else. I was going for a nice walk in the dank slum I live in, trying to get to my local sandwich shop with as few fatalities as possible, when all of a sudden I popped up here. Also, what? Just in general. Fair enough. You're currently in my library, of which I am the head librarian. My name is Angela, Team Edward Ravenclaw District 12. I don't know what a fixer is, but I take it you're kind of down on your luck recently?
Okay. We get it.
You could say that. Excellent. In that case, I've got a job offer for you. See, I'm trying to get my hands on a specific book, and in order to do so, I need to send some invites out to get people to join my book club. Oh, that sounds nice. What are you reading? Them, mostly. When they get here, if you accept the job, you'll fight them to the death. If they die, they become a book. If I get enough books, I can finally get the sequel that I've been waiting for. Well, considering I no longer have lower back pain.
So he spawns into this place. She needs more books. He goes and kills people. They turn into books. She gets the best book she can ever read.
I think I basically owe you my life, so sure, I'll work for you.
It's a death game.
We're open for business then. That was the opening scene to Library, adjusted with my own goofy writing. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be a few more later on. To even more briefly summarize our previous game, there was this dude named A and his girlfriend who committed crimes against humanity to cure depression and got bonked for it. A went on to make a power company that turned these humans into monsters and then pet those monsters to generate power. Overseeing this was Angela, an artificial copy of A's waifu who is nothing like said waifu. A then reanimated his friends and then helped him commit crimes against humanity as robots to man his main facility, but it was all a plan to get them to go through enough character growth to grow the plot seed that cures depression. They succeed after much agony, but Angela flicks the light switch after a few days and takes a good chunk of the plotlight for herself. Then she turned the main facility into our titular library and started looking for something called the One Perfect Book. Things stayed like that for a few months before this dude, Roland, shows up. He's a low-grade mercenary for hire that allegedly doesn't know how he got there. Angela hires him to help with receptions. See, there's this invitation that Angela herself doesn't quite control, but it magically appears to people that could use the books the library has. It tells the recipient that if they accept the invite, they'll appear in the library and have to fight for their lives. If they win, they get the books they want. If they die, they become a book and all the info about their lives gets added to the library. Roland's job is to be the head librarian of the floor of general works. Now, stepping back for a moment, the content that we cover in this part is largely expository. It's a lot of world building stuff, setting up the bare bones basics for the rest of the game to play off of. There's a decent amount of thought put into exactly how this goes about, so I'm gonna follow the pacing of it, but just be ready for not a lot of characters to stick around for very long. We begin with the humble rat. These guys are the bottom rung of the city, the lowest of the low. Homeless, penniless, maidenless, these guys have nothing. Well, nothing except the ability to root around in corpses and sell the organs for cash. Yeah, imagine your city, but the homeless universally murder people, not just for their cash, but also for organ harvesting as well. It only gets worse from here. Anyway, these three are digging through a mutilated, weird body to sell organs to a group called the Stray Dogs. Unfortunately, because the body seems to have been tampered with in some way, they can't sell the organs, so they're in a bad spot. However, they find the library's invitation inside the body, see that it offers something called books, which sounds valuable, and go on in. Spoiler alert, canonically the library never loses a fight, so when I say, and then they go in, you can go ahead and add, and dies right after. Anyway,
so this is the, like, what the fuck? What time? Like, I need to know, what is the timeline, right? These are all events that happened before Limbus Company, but this is all in the same world. But these games are, like, all in the past, right?
Second invitation
it's not
goes
all
out
happening
to a
at the
group
same
called
time.
Young's office. They're an office of fixers, and I'll quickly elaborate on what those are.
I need a
Remember how
bottle
I
of
said
water.
that Roland is a mercenary for hire? Yeah, that's a fixer. They're not entirely mercenaries, though. They're officially sponsored by the HANA Association, one of the most powerful organizations.
So same world
in the
and
city,
actually in order. So
offices are sanctioned by the government.
Library,
they do
and then
a huge variety
Limbus.
of things, some of which we'll see later on, but they're mostly problem solvers.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this is the city, and that means problems range from rats killing and gutting random people to more esoteric problems that we'll get into later. For now, just know that these people are armed and dangerous, while the higher ranked ones are. See, HANA assigns a rank to every fixer from 9 to 1. The lower the number, the scarier they are. Our invitation finds a group of grade 9 fixers trying to rescue a cat. One of them, a boy named Finn that can't be more than a young teenager, is smart enough to report the invitation to his home office, while the others accept and die. Yun, the owner, senses that the library might be a more dangerous threat than his office normally deals with and asks for assistance, but he needs to scout it out to make sure it's worth the cash. So he sends Finn in to scout and die. After Finn bites the dust, we get introduced to a curious system in the library. As you complete invitations and get access to more books, the floors of the library start to open up a bit more. Each floor houses a number of abnormalities, those previously mentioned humans turned monsters from the last game. They're chilling out in a book with their perfect containment environment, but as the floors expand, librarians can enter these abnormality books to throw
maybe
hands
a few
with
months or
these
years.
foes. If the librarians win, a new librarian is awoken on that floor, allowing for more help during receptions, and that abno lends its power to the floor in the form of buff cards. Now, we're not going to talk about this section of library that much, so we'll go ahead and let the comments deliver insightful fun facts about the various floors and their abnormalities. More than that, these sections tend to have cutscenes between a character and the head librarian of the floor, which will be our main focus. For now, this cutscene is basically just an explanation of how this whole system works. Roland faces off against a spooky abnormality called Bloodbath, which is themed around a tub of blood that pulls people in. We'll talk more about this foreshadowing later. For now, Yun's office shows up in force. They've even got a grade 8 fixer along with them, wowzers! Anyway, when they show up, Angela calls Yun out for sending Finn to die for basically no reason. Yun defends himself, saying that Finn would have been exploited at some point by someone else. That's just how the city works after all. Angela says, damn, alright, and then they all get turned into books. This is where we get introduced to our first other head librarian. See, as the library expands, new floors will open up, and these floors are run by the Sapphira from Lobotomy Corporation. I kind of skimmed over their personalities during LobCorp because space was tight, but here I'll flesh them out a bit more. Just like in Lobotomy Corporation, our first friend is Malkuth. I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Greetings, manager. Or, well, I guess there isn't a manager anymore. Anyway, hi! I'm Malkuth, head librarian of the Floor of History. I'll be here to help you out with anything you might need. Also, I've got beef with Angela because she's a heinous bitch who ruined all of our dreams, but there's work to be done, so we'll get to that later. See ya.
Okay, our next reception is with the Brotherhood of Iron. These poor saps are a bunch of idiots who decided to trade in their shitty, fleshy human bodies for robo bodies. On one hand, this means they get a ton of upfront cash by selling their organs, and they don't have to worry about food. On the other, they're actually much weaker than before. This brings up a curious discussion about AI in the city. See, the head, the big scary organization that
I don't think I'm gonna be listening to any more OSTs outside of the game, bro. I don't think that's for me, bro. Big Brother is watching you.
Controls everything in the city hates AI. There's a law that says all non-human artificial intelligence will be banned from the city and thrown into the outskirts. The no man's land full of terrifying monsters outside the city. However, that's only non-human AI. Brains in jars on top of robot bodies or anything that is human at its core is completely fine. So while there are robots and mechanical people around in the city, they're still humans at their most base level. The Brotherhood is also a syndicate, one of the other major powers in the city. Syndicates are criminal organizations that exist outside of the HANA Association and the rest of the government's purview. You might notice that this implies that they're able to go against the head, but all I can say on that right now is that's not the case. To go any more in-depth would get away from the point, and we're already tangenting super hard as it is. Anyway, they roll to the library and get bodied like the rest. This unlocks our second cutscene on Malk's floor. These cutscenes between the lower floor librarians are just them recapping bits that happened in Lobotomy Corporation, so we're gonna be going a bit general for them. For example, here Malk talks about this being her third try at life, reminding the audience that these guys were human, then brain and jar robots, and are now human again. Our next reception is the Hook Office. These guys are the dark side of fixers.
What? Okay,
while some
I'll just keep watching before I ask anything else.
Something good for the people around them and make money while doing so, there are also fixers like Hook Office. These guys are wet work specialists. If you're not familiar with the term, it's a polite corporate way of saying murder. They're assassins and decently good at it too. They'll even break into other fixer offices and kill people there if it gives them something worthwhile. They're not nice people, to the point that when they go into the library and Angela greets them, they actually take a swing at her. Naturally, due to her being a super advanced robot AI, the blow tinks off her without doing any damage. They comment on this, and it prompts a conversation about the whole AI thing I mentioned
before.
Just crazy. Anyway, they get done up like the rest. This spooky reception opens up the next librarian, who will introduce himself. Greetings, I am Yesid, head librarian of the floor of technological sciences. Your manners are crude, your fit is whack, and I find you absolutely repulsive to work with. If you plan on running this place like that, we're surely headed straight for the dumpster of reality. Fix yourself before you show up here again. Also, why are you just following what Angela tells you? That's cringe. Stand up for yourself, you absolute goblin. This also gets us to our next rank. Plot-wise, we hear several unknown figures discussing something called the Distortion phenomenon and the potential culprits behind it. They list off a few Urban Plague tier entities, the Laundry of Dreams and Yesterday's Promise, as well as the Urban Legend tier Church of Gears. We, and Urban Myth, are also on the list of potential suspects. One of the voices mourns the fact that the investigation is going so poorly, if management is making random guesses like this. We also have Roland and Angela discussing the nature of the library and what their goal is, but it's mostly stuff we've already covered. About ranks, this game is split between multiple tiers that essentially denote how visible the library is, or more specifically, how much HANA Association will pay to take you down. These ranks are given out to every spooky entity in the city, with the lowest and most irrelevant being called canons. These are so low that people don't even know what they are, and HANA certainly hasn't even noticed them yet. This goes all the way up to Star of the City, which are entities strong enough to cause problems in the city on a major scale. But we'll get there eventually. Please note that these ranks aren't necessarily denotions of the actual strength of the spooky subject in question, more a measure of how much of a pain they are to the association. This bears some distinct similarities to a certain other power ranking system from a much more oceanic series, but I'll talk about that another day. Think of it like content creation. Being big doesn't necessarily mean you make actually good content, just stuff that people want to watch. But more often than not, people that are big tend to make good content. Same logic here. A Star of the City certainly might be a weakling gremlin that a grade 5 fixer could tackle solo, but more likely it's going to take an entire association working together to take it down. Also, much like content creation, the first people that get their eyes on us once we're slightly bigger than average are cannibals. What, just me? Anyway, Pierre's Bistro here introduces the concept that each district of the city has its own quirks. Oh, in case you didn't watch the LobCorp video, the city is split into districts, each presided over by a megacorporation called a Wing of the World. These wings are named after a letter of the English alphabet, and each title stands for a word. For instance, L Corp was Lobotomy Corporation, which has this neat video you should go watch so I can stop recapping. Anyway, as I said, each district has its own eccentricities. We don't get a lot of examples of these, but we know that District 23 is well known for its cannibalism. See, a lot of people in this district are looking for the fabled Flavor Town and think that the only way to get there is by eating people prepared in a number of nightmarish ways. That's about it, though. The reception itself is pretty much just here to
kind of
introduce
corporation
the
is
concept.
that?
Except for Pierre. Why did they draw the cannibalism chef mommy like that? Our second cutscene with Yesid mostly revolves around his discussion of who the librarians were in their past lives and how they're able to fight now with the library's power. Namely, they're able to take their victims' life experiences and turn them into pages, which they then utilize to execute similar moves. It's basically an in-universe explanation for the whole card game thing.
W
Ooh, look out, guys. It's
that's
getting
the
dark
ones that be
outside.
eating people?
The street lights are turning on. Specifically, the Streetlight office is coming out. These guys are some of the nicest fixers we've seen so far. They're legitimately good people that work hard to keep their little corner of the back streets safe from any of the messed up stuff that happens there. There are obviously some things they can't fix, but they handle what they can. They've got 3 members, San, Mars, and Lulu. San
After
is the
the
leader
events
and a pretty
fall
good
out?
one.
Nah,
making
you're
sure that
nasty,
the office
bro.
only takes on jobs that they
We
can
don't
handle.
talk
Mars is a
about
level-headed
Love Town.
man, kind of emotionally muted, but he's a good boy. Finally, we have Lulu, a fiery lady who is very emotionally outgoing. We love her, she's great. There's some minor office drama going on when we peek in, as Mars is eating a cake that Lulu was saving for later. San receives an offer from a colleague to look into the library. However, the group is kind of reluctant to do so because an under-the-table urban myth tier job won't pay very well or get them prestige with Hana. However, the offer is coming with an urban legend paycheck. With that amount of money being thrown around, San is cautious since it sounds dangerous, but both Mars and Lulu are willing to do it for the cash. Mars and Lulu continue bickering while they head to the library, but San eventually breaks it up by offering them a nice dinner at a restaurant when they get back. Angela greets them, they're invited in, and San reminds them to retreat if things get too hairy. Apparently Mars didn't get the memo because he dies here and gets turned into a book while Lulu and San escape. Afterward, Roland notes that these guys were particularly big rookies because they made the mistake of forging close bonds with their fixer co-workers. People die in this line of business. It's a natural part of it, so getting close to people is a terrible idea because you'll have to deal with everyone's favorite consequence in this damn city: trauma. Speaking
Holy
of,
shit.
our next librarian is
Holy shit.
Greetings, I'm Hod, head librarian of the Floor of Literature. I'm a bit clumsy, but I'll be sure to help out as much as possible. Speaking of,
Best
while
girl,
we're
worst
collecting books,
Abnos?
would you mind joining our book club? We've been getting together and talking about our feelings for these stories. It's been a big help in processing our emotions, especially with everything going on. Also, we all kind of hate Angela because she screwed us over at the end of the last game, but I'm sure if we all talk to each other, we can be friends here. Anyway, I hope you'll stop by. Have a good day.
Wow, what a refreshing ray of sunshine in this dark, evil world. Anyway, after Mars dies, San and Lulu went back to their home office where Lulu finds a replacement piece of cake that Mars bought as an apology before they left. Turns out they had kind of romantic feelings for each other. Lulu runs out into the street weeping over her loss. As
People
she vents
hate
her
her.
pain, rage, and frustration at the unfairness of it all, a golden slip of paper appears in front of her with a single book on offer. The Book of Mars. Deep in the pit of Lulu's core, a single spark ignites. She calls in every favor she has to everyone she knows. She assembles an office's worth of the most skilled fixers she can find and steps into the library to take her vengeance on the entity that stole everything from her.
She about to
She
get
never
cooked,
steps
huh?
back out.
She gets cooked.
Oh, hey, nice to meet you, man. I'm Netsock,
People
head
do believe
librarian
me.
of the Floor of Art. My job is mostly to... Whoa, man, I'm coming down. Give me a second.
Not the Minecraft drinking noise, bro.
Hey,
Netsock
Roland,
is so
thanks
good
for
at-
delivering more books. Also, I'm feeling kind of bad about working here because we literally killed those Streetlight people who kind of just wanted to live their lives.
Oh, I've got a saying for that. See, the city sucks and we can't do anything about it, so, you know, this is this and that is that. Do what you can for your own shit and leave the rest well enough alone.
Roland, have you ever heard the phrase copium?
With that conversation, we have reached the urban legend tier, which comes with yet another vague and spooky conversation between people that we won't see for quite a
It's
while.
easily the
It's
least
some dude that's
geek.
apparently an underboss talking to people about fingers, specifically dealing with the index and making sure that they don't claim something through the fog at the heart of a nest. They also bring up us, the library, and the fact that we're urban legends now, so clearly there must be some kind of fans. Well, boss, we finally hit urban legend level.
Okay, but what does that actually mean for us?
More powerful and interesting guests that might know stuff.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I remember during my backstory when my grandmama told me all about the cool urban legends in the city. There's plenty of myths, but legends are pretty much guaranteed to be real.
Well, I'm glad we've made it among the ranks up here. What's that about a gramophone or whatever you said?
Oh yeah, my parents just up and died somehow and my grandmama raised me. Then she just up and vanished one day too, and then stuff happened, and I've been a completely normal grade 9 fixer ever since.
Oh yeah, a completely low-tier nobody that understands the rigors of losing friends like only a high-grade experienced fixer would.
Enough about me, let's talk about you. What's your end goal in all this?
Oh, I want a book, specifically a sequel. I've been a huge fan of this series, A Tune of Frost and Flame. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I heard the ending was kinda...
Up. No spoilers. Anyway, I've got a ridiculous amount of books in here, but the only way I can find the sequel is getting guidance from those invitations. Oh, I also want to become human and get out more.
Well, I've heard of a few good dating sites you can check out.
Oh, not that. I mean, I literally cannot leave this building if I wanted to. I'd also like to tear down everything one of my dads built because he was a manipulative monster that put me through uncountable years of suffering and didn't even bother to give me a happy ending like he did for literally all of humanity. So I'm a little bit spiteful about that.
On a scale of passive-aggressive comment to burn down the city, how spiteful are we talking?
Oh, I'd crack this city like an egg and burn the
Is he gonna explain this guy's backstory? Or is that not gonna happen in this video?
to ashes if that meant I got one instant of relief from the suffering I went through.
Duly noted. And the invitations will avoid us doing that?
Probably, I don't know.
Okay, real quick, we're going into the next part of the story, and I'm gonna start pacing out the Librarian segments in clumps instead of when they
That
unlock
comes
so they
way
don't
later
interrupt
on.
the flow of the receptions. At least after this one. We fight Keter Floor's second abnormality, and the whole lower floor squad shows up to talk. It basically just amounts to everyone being mad at Angela for backstabbing them, but having to cope with the fact that they have to do what she wants now. Okay, after all that, we finally got into our next reception. Something that I cut out of the Streetlight section was that the whole office was part of an umbrella association. See, while there are individual offices, the real power of fixers are in the associations. There's associations scattered throughout the city, each with a different number and a different language assigned to them. The biggest of these is the Hana Association, who leads all the others, but the one we're concerned with right now is the Zwei Association, which specializes in policing the city and ensuring public safety. Specifically, we deal with the part of it that San contacted, the Southern Section 6 branch. This means that, no, we do not tackle the entirety of an association. Doing so would be nearly impossible, as these are monolithic organizations, and completely wiping one out is almost impossible due to their sheer size. I'll be real with you, I barely remember anything about this Y fight story-wise. More than any other part of this game, I think they were just used as a vessel for exposition, as this is the first group we fight with any real idea of what's going on in the rest of the city. Plot-wise,
so
San
afraid.
shows up to ask Zwei South Section 6 to deal with the library. He gets a lot of flack from the workers in said section, but when they get news that the library has been upgraded urban legend, they decide to go check it out. When the scouts don't come back, they set up the exposition board. Okay, let's talk about the distortion phenomenon. See, these Section 6 guys were the ones talking during the urban legend story where they were investigating the same phenomenon. This is currently an urban nightmare class occurrence where individuals are turning into monstrosities with seemingly no warning after—
Can I say something? If this lore was put into like a third-person game, I think I would eat this shit up. I would eat this shit up. If you could actually walk around and experience like I would play that.
For the White Knights
1000%
and
I would
Dark
play
Days.
that.
That was the end of LobCorp, by the way, if you didn't watch that video.
Even if
Go
the
watch
battle
that
system
video.
is still
There
like
have been
cards or
relatively
whatever, I
minor
would still
cases
play
of
it.
this
Or
occurring, but
turn-based.
Zwei have handled before it got out of hand, including one where a restaurant clerk turned into a man-eating sandwich monster. However, the biggest incident of the distortion so far was the appearance of the pianist. This monstrosity was incredibly dangerous, killing 80% of District 9's population and requiring the dispatch of a color fixer to deal with it. For context, color fixers are fixers that are above and beyond the normal grading system. They're
Like, I'll be fair. They drop a 3D action game. I think the popularity of this skyrockets to even higher realms than a lot of other games. Like, it would become a bigger cult classic. Does that make sense? Because this game already feels like a cult classic and it's not even done yet. But if they dropped a 3D game, and it doesn't even have to be a gacha, it could be a 3D story game. Like, that shit would be fire. But if it was a gacha, that would be fire too.
basically
Like I said, it wouldn't
one-man
be.
armies to themselves, and the fact that one of them was sent in against the pianist means that it was a truly powerful foe. Zwei, and by extension most of the city,
7
has
years.
no idea what has caused the distortion phenomenon. All that they know is it's related to the collapse of LobCorp and the White Knights and Dark Days. They suspect that the library might be related, and so Zwei sends in San and one of their skilled fixers, Julia, to get as many books from the library as possible so they can learn what's going on. When they inevitably fail, Angela gets the idea to write her own books to attract more people, including the Book of Lobotomy Corporation and the Book of Distortion. After
Live
San and
service
Julia
probably,
fail,
so-
the director
okay,
of
that's
this branch
fair.
of Zwei, Walter, thinks it's no longer worth it to try and
Live service city builder?
conquer the library. Their job is to protect people from stuff like the carnival and the musicians of Bremen, not to avenge their comrades. As such, he wants to wash his hands of the entire situation. That is, until an invitation appears on his desk offering the Book of Distortion. Enticed by the potential knowledge and career advancement, Walther brings a chunk of Zwei South Section 6's forces and enters the library where he and all of them become books. Also, thank God I don't ever have to say Zwei South Section 6's forces again because that's a tongue twister. Here we reach the split. Up until now, the story was progressing in a linear manner. There was only one fight to do at any given time, maybe an Abno fight to break things up. But from here on out, there will be multiple fights available at a time. We'll talk more about this in the next
This shit
episode.
really a $30 game.
Further then, but for now, we'll talk about the current two routes available to us, starting with Molar Office. This is an office of fixers who, shockingly, aren't just walking right into the library like every other office we've seen up until this point. They've been hired by Mio of the Rabbit Team to investigate the nest of L-Corp, and to get there quickly, they take a warp train, a miracle form of travel from W-Corp that can get anywhere in the city in a mere 10 seconds.
I heard about
They
this
sit next
train
to a
already.
couple, strap in
Where actually they're dying in the train and getting being put back together.
their seatbelts, which is weird because this is only a 10-second trip, and set off. Olga, the incredibly drunk leader of this office, decides to take a nap despite the short length of the trip. 1 hour into the ride, and the train hasn't arrived. 6 hours into the ride, they're still sitting and waiting to see if something will resolve the problem. They complain that Warp Corp hasn't had any incidents in 10 years, so this must be a huge problem for them that they'll quickly fix. Olga is bored and wants to try to cut open the doors, but that would suck her and everyone else out in space. 17 hours into the ride, and everyone is getting agitated. Olga cuts her and the rest of her group seatbelts off, and they start trying to figure a way out. 31 hours into the ride, and Olga can't even cut the doors open. It seems like no one is even feeling hunger or thirst despite the passing of time. Olga offers her compatriots a gamble, revealing an invitation she received from Mio. They sign it and enter the library. Afterward, Roland asks Angela why the hell R Corp would be interested in the library. Turns out R Corp, L Corp, and W Corp all had a collaborative contract with each other in the past, so it makes sense that they would try to figure out what's up when their power supplier just up and vanishes. Our other reception here is the Stray Dogs. This is a syndicate that is apparently strong enough to raid the same Y group that we softened up, as we see them beating the tar out of some poor fixer. They reveal that they were trying to get the floor plans for L Corp's nest out of Walther, but he up and vanished out of nowhere. They need to get moving soon or sweepers will show up and they'll be in trouble, but they're already in trouble because they were getting this info for their bosses in the Thumb. I'm not sure when it's brought up, but the Thumb is one of the 5 biggest and scariest syndicates in the city. They're each named after a finger, and we're primarily concerned with the Thumb and the Index during this game. That's about all we know at the moment. The leader of the dogs reveals that he has an invitation, and on it is the Book of Walther, which they can give to their bosses to make up for their misstep. Angela and Roland briefly discuss the sweepers, terrifying creatures that lurk in the back streets. There's a specific time of night in the back streets where the sweepers will go in and steal away anyone who is still out and about. They even eat people for their fuel, and no matter how many get killed, there's still more of them the next night like nothing happened at all. Anyway, the Stray Dogs all get bonked, but at least they give us the almighty brawl card. Alright, quick Librarian wrap up. Netsock and Roland get drunk and have a chat about their lives, with Netsock bringing up how he hates having to kill the guests in the library. The third stories of each of the Librarian meetings are flashbacks to what happened at the end of Lobotomy Corporation, specifically what happened after the true ending. Basically, to sum it up, the Sapphira all rebelled against Angela wanting to take the light and ruin all their hard work, all except Bina, who sided with Angela for the sake of mostly seeing what happens. She and Geb throw hands again, but she can't stand up to all the Sapphira at once, so Angela unleashes all of the abnormalities that were being stored. The Sapphira gather together to deal with this immediate threat. Eventually, Angela makes a compromise with them. She'll let the light escape into the city for 4 days, and then keep 3 days worth for herself. This way, the light still spreads to the city, and all their sacrifices meant something, but Angela gets part of it to do with what she wishes. Thus, library starts. Each librarian also talks about different subjects during these flashbacks. Malkuth is still pissed that Angela basically nullified all of the pain and sacrifice that they went through, all for the sake of a selfish desire. Yes, it explains that the light they're made up of in the library lets them basically manifest whatever they want. Hod talks about how she once betrayed all of her friends by contacting the head, and the guilt she felt after doing so. But she also talks about how she learned to move past it by genuinely being a nice person to those around her instead of constantly seeking forgiveness. Finally, Netsock talks about how he basically learned to cope with all the shit he's gone through. He sympathizes with Angela because she's actually a person that wants to live despite being an AI, and he can't help but feel that reflects his own personal journey. Okay, and like that, we're through the first part of Library of Ruina. And given the fact that we're currently sitting at about 6K words, that's a good thing. I know not everyone agrees with my choice to split this up into 4 different videos, but I'd like you to understand that this is a lot of work for me, and compartmentalizing it like this means I won't get overwhelmed by it. As I mentioned at the top of this, these will also be edited into 1 giga video when they're all out, so if you just want to sit down and watch the whole thing, that option will be available later. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for Urban Plague and Urban Nightmare.
Damn.